The savanna sun beat down on golden grasses, painting the pride lands in hues of amber and dust. Yet, beneath the majestic acacia tree where kings were crowned, a young lion named Leo trembled. He possessed the broad shoulders, the thick tawny mane beginning to flourish, and the powerful build expected of royalty, destined to follow his noble father. But within Leo's chest beat a heart strangely attuned not to roars of command, but to the gentle murmur of the wind through the reeds and the soft chirping of crickets at dusk. The very idea of ruling, of bearing the weight of every life in the pride, filled him with a profound dread that no amount of royal lineage could dispel. He felt like an impostor in his own skin, yearning not for the rocky outcrop throne, but for quiet solitude. His sanctuary became a hidden grove beside a whispering river, far from the judging eyes of the elders and the ambitious young lions practicing their intimidating roars here. Among the ferns and fluttering butterflies, Leo felt truly himself. He'd spend hours observing the intricate dance of dragonflies over the water, sharing silent companionship with a wise old tortoise who moved slowly but saw much, or simply listening to the symphony of the wild, a language he understood far better than the politics of the pride. The thought of exchanging this profound peace for the roar of the crowds and the constant demands of leadership was a terrifying prospect, a future he couldn't envision without a knot of anxiety tightening in his stomach. He feared the expectations, the potential for failure, the sheer loneliness of command. One scorching dry season, a terrible stillness descended upon the land. The life-giving rains failed utterly. The rivers dwindled to muddy trickles, the grasses withered to brittle husks, and prey grew scarce and desperate. Leo's father, the aging king, pushed himself relentlessly, leading hunting parties further and further into dangerous, unfamiliar territory. The strain proved too much. One evening, after a grueling, unsuccessful hunt beneath a merciless sun, the great king stumbled back to the den, his breath ragged, his eyes dimmed with exhaustion and defeat. With a final, soft rumble directed at Leo, a look of deep, unspoken understanding passing between them, the king closed his eyes, leaving the pride leaderless and adrift in a time of profound crisis. Panic, sharp and cold, pierced Leo's fear. They were utterly lost. Whispers turned to urgent, fearful murmurs. Among the pride, hunger gnawed at bellies, thirst-parched throats, and the cubs' weak cries echoed the desperation of the land. Leo felt the collective gaze of the pride settle upon him, heavy with expectation and raw need. The familiar terror surged, threatening to paralyze him. He wanted to bolt back to his river grove, but then he saw his younger sister, her ribs showing, nuzzling their grieving mother, and heard the whimper of a tiny cub. A deeper instinct, older than fear, stirred within him. The instinct to protect. It wasn't the roar of a king that rose within him, but a fierce, quiet resolve. He couldn't lead like his father roared, but perhaps he could lead like he listened. He took a trembling step forward towards the worried elders. For days, Leo moved differently than any lion king before him. He didn't stand aloof on the outcrop. He walked silently among the pride, his large head bowed, his amber eyes intently observing. He noticed the subtle paths worn by small animals heading towards the distant, forbidden mountains. Paths others dismissed. He remembered the tortoises' tales of hidden springs deep within rocky clefts, places known only to the quietest creatures. He listened intently to the gossip of the vervet monkeys high in the few remaining trees, their chatter hinting at water sources beyond the known territories he didn't command. He gathered whispers, piecing together a map of hope from the murmurs of the earth, and its creatures. He led not with a roar, but with a quiet, determined padding towards the unknown horizon. The desperate pride, following his silent certainty. After a perilous journey guided by Leo's unique understanding, they discovered a secluded valley shielded by high cliffs and there, fed by secret underground veins untouched by the drought, lay a pool of clear, cool water, surrounded by surprisingly resilient green shoots and grazing herds drawn by the same hidden refuge. Relief washed over the pride, a palpable wave of life returning as the lions drank deeply, and the cubs regained their energy. A large elder lioness approached Leo. She didn't bow to his strength, but looked into his eyes, Still holding a trace of that familiar vulnerability, we followed your listening. Young one, she rumbled, her voice thick with emotion. You saw what roaring eyes could not. You led us not as a thunderous king, but as a guide who understands the quiet language of survival. This, she gestured around the life-filled valley, is your strength. Leo felt the knot of fear loosen, replaced by a warmth he'd never known. Leo returned to the Pride Lands not as a lion who had conquered his fear, but as one who had integrated it into his strength. He ruled from the great acacia, yes, but often descended to walk among his pride. He listened to the worries of the youngest cub, and the wisdom of the oldest hunter with equal patience. His roars were used sparingly, only for true warning or celebration. Decisions were made with careful consideration of the wind, the water, the needs of the smallest creature. He became known as the gentle king, the lion who listened. His reign wasn't marked by conquest, but by profound harmony. The savannah flourished under his quiet vigilance, a testament to the power found not in the absence of fear, but in the courage to lead with one's whole, authentic heart. He learned that true kingship wasn't about being fearless, but about caring deeply enough to act despite the fear. And so, as the moon cast its silver glow over the peaceful savannah, Leo would often gaze out from his den, listening to the contented sighs of his sleeping pride. The old fear sometimes brushed his heart, a faint, familiar chill, but it was met now by the solid warmth of belonging, the deep satisfaction of protecting what he loved in his own true way. He understood that his gentle nature wasn't a flaw, but his unique gift. His quiet strength was the root that held the entire Pride Lands together, proving that sometimes the softest heart can be the bravest king of all, a silent guardian under the watchful stars. Sleep now, little one, knowing your own gentle heart holds its own unique magic.